The Last Jedi is this small, non-divisive film that came out 6 months ago, and I have some thoughts. So I actually really like the film, and while I don't think it is great, I do think it is a very good movie, and one of the most perplexing movies ever created. The reason that I think this movie is so hard to talk about and understand why it's so divisive is because it hits all the regular beats of a great film. It is well directed on a scene-by-scene level, the acting is good, and for most part the dialogue is well written. The main characters progress, and their arcs not only work brilliantly to connect to each other, but they work to create a complex theme, something that most movies are lacking. The action scenes are executed well, and the film looks amazing. So what went wrong? Well, first, we need to explore what the film is trying to accomplish. The Last Jedi is setting to destruct the Star Wars genre, to take the tropes of every Star Wars film and advert them, do something new with the story. The Last Jedi does this every chance it gets, taking almost everything that is set up in the last film and literally throwing it away. Taking the franchise's most beloved character and making him far more complex. This is a really ambitious move, and for me, a welcome one. I love it when movies try to do something new, because we rarely get that in cinema today. And after The Force Awakens came out, that was the biggest complaint. It didn't do anything new. But The Last Jedi apparently went too far into unknown territory. But where I think that complaint comes from isn't the fans actually being unhappy with the franchise doing something different. It is that what we got wasn't equally as satisfying. Take Luke throwing his lightsaber. If Rian Johnson gives us what we want, it would be a very triumphant scene where fanboys would freak out. So, when you decide not to do that, you have to try and give the audience something that will satisfy us in a different way. The decision to have Luke throw his lightsaber away is an unexpected and compelling one. But to have that be the climax of the scene, no real conflict, and Rey just being confused, makes the scene feel dull. We expected a triumphant moment. You don't have to give us what we want, but having a mundane scene to be left leaves the audience displeased. Even compare this to when Snoke is killed and Rey and Kylo team up. The scene defies expectations with a shocking decision, but gives us something that is equally as satisfying in the fight that comes about. In both of these situations, thematically and story-wise, it is a very fascinating choice. But Rey and Kylo's fight hits so much harder because we're given something equally as satisfying in return. I can't say the same for Luke throwing his lightsaber. Too often in The Last Jedi, the audience's expectations are successfully adverted, but we aren't given something that is equally as satisfying in return. And I don't think that makes the movie bad, far from it. The movie is still really good, but at some times its execution holds it back from being great. This is where I think the complaints of many fans are misguided. They say they want the films to do something new, but then they hate Luke's character arc. They don't like Finn's side journey because he isn't that great of a character. They want to know where Snoke came from. But all of these complaints, I feel like, are a little misled. Luke is being made complex, and his struggle fits with Kylo and Rey's. Finn is a well-rounded character who learns to stay for his cause instead of run, and his arc is juxtaposed with Poe's to show the two sides of how someone can be heroic. Snoke was used to create a main villain. Not every character in a film needs to have a backstory. We don't need to know their motivations as long as their purpose is to help characterize our main characters. In this case, Kylo and Rey. All of these complaints come from a lack of being satisfied. But it isn't because they tried something new. People tend to say they ruined everything from the last films. But at times, The Last Jedi truly delivers, giving us great scenes that keep us on the edge of our seat. And at other times, it falls a little flat, not giving us something truly as satisfying in return. The Last Jedi isn't so divisive because of the risks it takes. Its reluctance to keep us satisfied in new ways holds it back. But film is an active medium. Risks need to be taken to push forward a genre, and deconstructions of a genre is the only way movies expand and grow. The Last Jedi may have slightly missed the mark, but I hope its effort leads to a future where Star Wars movies hit the mark and try something new and give us fans a truly amazing experience at the theater. But I am worried, with all of this misled fan backlash, that instead of perfecting the art of adverting expectations within a Star Wars film, Disney is going to settle to make movies just like the original trilogy, full of regular superhero arcs, a big lightsaber fight, and a Death Star. And maybe some fans want that, and want the same thing over and over. But personally, I hope Disney keeps pursuing new stories to make the Star Wars universe even more interesting. And hopefully one day, they will be able to please the most passionate fan base in the world.